Welcome back. We take a closer look at the day's market action now with Kearabilwe Nonyana from Scope Prime Africa. Kearabilwe, thanks so much for your time this evening. What's on everyone's mind, right? We have what's been playing out in the US, those tariffs, those new tariffs coming through, as well as the potential US government shutdown. How concerned are you about this, particularly because we've been warned of delays when it comes to economic releases, particularly that jobs data that's supposed to be out on Friday?
Yeah, I don't think that the private sector data is in any way inadequate for the Fed to make decisions. But I think what's more concerning for market participants is just sitting at a point of where politics is just driving markets every single day.
Yeah.
I mean, today's my last day at Esco Prime, and essentially the last thing that I left as a parting shot is maybe we do need a political analyst team just to deal with the problems that we're having politically and geopolitically in the markets, such that we know every week what's going to be driving the markets. Because right now, had we did have it on our calendar that there might be a potential shutdown of the U.S. government. But did we think it's as serious as it is and put a red alert for it such that we allow our clients to know about it? I don't think we did, and I think we were a bit behind the curveball as a team, and I think as a market. But what the market is really doing is just looking over that and just moving its eyes above that, and essentially trying to find where the nexus of the next economic move is going to come from. And looking at the futures market, the US treasuries are still indicating at the October meeting there's a 90% probability that there's going to be a rate cut, and at the next meeting 65%. So we do anticipate that there's going to be more rate cuts, and that's what's really buoying the markets at the moment.
So hanging on to the optimism around those rate cut bets and somewhat striking off what's playing out on the political front. Now, while trade seems to be choppy on the global front, it's green screens here at home. On the back of, that gold price rally. I think the last time I checked, it was above $3,800. And every time I think the gold price has peaked, it just breaks through another record high. I mean, there were analysts saying that the yellow metal could reach $5,000 before the end of the year. Hey, man, what are you making of the dynamics playing out in gold in particular, especially in these uncertain times, because we are seeing more and more, investors, traders trying to find a safer place to hide their money?
I think gold remains where it is just purely because of the fact that there continues to be so geopolitical issues that continue to drive our markets. And right now, because of future rate cut bets, right now gold seems like it's all glitters, and for as long as that happens, the magnificent 10 on our market is going to continue to give great returns. And what I mean by that there's marginal producers of gold in our market who just need just a bit of operating leverage for them to be cash cows. And right now, when I'm reading reports across the globe, gold producers right now are so cash flush. It's very funny.
I wish I made my bet on a gold counter sooner rather than later, because now looking at some of those stock prices, you're like, yo, hey. Let's move over to some company news. Netcare out with an update, expecting to deliver upbeat annual earnings, pointing to a better performance in the second half of its financial year. What did you make of that update?
I think when you look at the geographical diversification of all our healthcare producers, I think the only one which would be very different from Netcare would be Mediclinic, and the only way to get through this through a holding company.
Yeah.
I think Netcare holds its own continuously. I think it's had its own fair share of problems in the past. But right then, I think you look at the occupancy rates and you look at net operating margins continuously going up. And that just speaks to the fact that essentially they're finding robust consumers within the geographical mix of where they are operating in. And I think it's really a company that won that has done well. But my only concern with them is that there's always a regulatory eye over the cost of
Yeah.
medical health care, because I think regulators just really just believe that right now it's just not the place for healthcare producers to be making record profits. I think it's done well with what it has to do. I think in the future there's always regulatory hurdles for these sort of companies.
And you know, I was having a conversation earlier today with the a health governance expert from WITS, and we were chatting about just the pricing within the private healthcare space on the back of that health market inquiry by the Competition Commission. So you can tell that the dynamics in that industry are somewhat pointing to the downside for those companies, but I guess they have to make do with the environment they are currently in. Kia, before I let you go, let's get your stock pick. Where are you seeing some value, some opportunity to, you know, nibble on at the moment?
Tolling, I think right now, if you just chose the market, you do well. But right now, I'm just picking a specific area in the market which is doing incredibly well on the back of the fact that there's anticipated rate cuts. It's gold, but how I'm trying to get exposure to gold through the ULG Pro shares leveraged 2 times ETF. Why I'm choosing the ETF? Because it's leveraged twice, essentially getting a double exposure to gold for essentially not trying to take away some cash from other positions that I'd have in the portfolio. For me, I think gold has really a bit of tailwind right now with the US rate cuts, as well as the fact that there's going to be a US government shutdown, because I think there's no congruence in policy between the Democrats and the Republicans. So right now, all that glitters is gold. So take your exposure through the ProShares ULG Gold ETF.
You know, they say diamonds are a girl's best friend, but I do think that gold will soon become a girl's best friend. Yeah, let's leave it there. Thanks so much for your time and taking us through markets at the close today. Now, that was Kearabilwe Nonyana from Scope Prime Africa.